Defining and calling constructors. My name's Caila Blanton. Setup. A constructor is a method that has the same name as the class. It has no return type. In this demo, we have started out with the class rectangle and we've declared two variables, double length and double width. And now we will write a basic no-argument constructor for the class rectangle. First, you must declare public because this constructor will be public, and then rectangle, which is the name of the class. Notice that we did not put any sort of return type, and we certainly didn't put void in because constructors never have a return type. After rectangle, we just put an open parenthesis and a closed parenthesis. This is because rectangle is not going to accept any arguments. Within it, we will need to initialize both the length and the width. This is important that we set length and width to something other than 0, because we could have just used the inherent default no-argument constructor that comes with the class if we had not done so. So let's initialize length to 2 and width to 4. And there we have it, no-argument constructor. Calling a constructor. A constructor is automatically called when an instance of the class is created. It performs initializations or setup operations. Default constructors. Default constructors are implicitly provided in a program. They initialize numbers to zeros and Boolean values to false. They are not called if you create a custom constructor. In the example below, we create an object of the rectangle class. As you can see, it calls the default rectangle constructor, as nothing is passed to it when the object is made. Below that, we print out width plus rectangle.getWidth plus length plus rectangle.getLength. We know in this case, the width will be 0 and the length will be 0. Default versus defined constructors. Once you define a constructor, you cannot use the default constructor. If you define a constructor for a class that has an int parameter, you cannot call the default no-arg constructor. Below we have an example where we create an object of the rectangle class named rect. With it, we call the no-arg constructor. This will not work if a constructor that accepts an argument is defined. Data values in a constructor. Calling the set method within a constructor allows variables not to be confined to a specific value. In this case, we create another copy of the rectangle class. We initialize the instance field len to 1. Then we create a constructor that accepts an int parameter. Within this constructor, we call the method setLength and pass to it length. We also create a method called setLength, in which we set a length to n if n is greater than 0 and less than 11, where int was the argument passed to the method, and if not, then length is equal to 4. Previously, we had created the class rectangle, showing an example of how to create a single no-argument constructor. Now we have finished the class by adding the methods getLength, getWidth, and toString. We will now demo this class in a file named rectangle demo. To do this, we're going to create a new rectangle object named rect1. And notice that we've not passed any arguments into the parentheses for rect1. This is because we're calling a single no-argument constructor. Now to test that this has worked, we're going to print out the contents of rect1 using the toString method. So we're going to compile it, and then we're going to run it. And as you can see, width is equal to 4.0 and length is equal to 2.0. And this is what we had in our constructor. So everything works.